On OutFront now, Mark Dubowitz, the executive director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. He's testified in front of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee on Iran negotiations. Peter Beinart is a senior fellow at the New American Foundation. Mark, you just heard the President of the United States say, if Iran cheats, the world will know it. If we see something suspicious, we will inspect it. He says he got a great deal, and at the least, you have to admit this, 4 pages of bullet points is a whole lot more than anybody thought we were going to get.
Well, it's true, Erin, but just because it's detailed doesn't mean it's a good deal. And the fundamental problem is that Iran is going to retain the essential elements of its military nuclear program. It's not good enough that the world knows it. It's not good enough that the world inspects it. The real question is, given the fact that Iran retains this program, what do we do when we discover that the Iranians are engaging in cheating? And they've got a 20-year track record of nuclear mendacity. How are we going to actually enforce this deal? And are we going to have to use military strikes every time the Iranians engage in incremental cheating? Well, of course not. We're going to need economic leverage. And my biggest fear is that we are trading permanent sanctions relief for temporary limits on Iran's nuclear program. We will not have the economic leverage to enforce this deal, and we will find that the Iranians at some point in a decade or so are going to have threshold nuclear capacity to move towards a nuclear weapon.
So Peter, let me ask you about a point that Mark just made there, which is about not being able to verify. Because one thing in this deal that was impressive is inspectors can go anywhere, right? In the past, Peter, as we know, they weren't able to go everywhere. That is significant. But in terms of going at any time, that's not in here. Right now, there's nothing in this deal that says inspectors can come at any time they want, show up unannounced, and surprise the Iranians. If they can't do that, how can you really verify they're not cheating?
Look, I think the key question on this deal is, what are you comparing it to? Do you compare it to complete Iranian capitulation, which is, I think, basically the stance of Obama's critics in Congress and Israel? No, it's not complete Iranian capitulation. We don't have the capacity to force complete Iranian capitulation, and we wouldn't even if we walked away from this deal, because you know what would happen? The sanctions regime would crumble because China and Russia are not going to keep sanctions on Iran forever if there's no prospect of a deal. The best way to look at this deal is to compare it to the alternative. It's a heck of a lot better than the alternative. The alternative is no eyes and ears on the ground in Iran whatsoever. It's 20,000 centrifuges as opposed to 5,000 or 6,000 centrifuges. It's Iran not closing down the ability to make nuclear enriched uranium at these key facilities. So compared to the alternative, this is much better.
All right. Thanks very much to both of you.